Hey, hi there, everybody. Hey, the word wisdom has come to mind today. The article I posted this morning about the 11 powerful ways to deal with anxiety, something like that, all having to do with business, of course, brought to mind the word wisdom. Because in order to deal with lots of different stuff, you've got to have things in perspective. And that takes wisdom, some past experiences that all added up to guide you in how you deal with adversity. It also brought to mind a prayer that I've kind of gone by for a good long time, probably more than half my life, I think, having to do with serenity. It's called the Serenity Prayer. And it deals with the following. It says, God grant me the courage to change the things I can, in other words, those things in my control, the serenity to accept the things I can't change. And then finally, the wisdom is the wisdom to know the difference between the two. God grant me the courage to change the things I can, the serenity to accept the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's kind of words to live by, and I drop back on that quite often, quite often. So I thought I'd share that with you to get this ball rolling. But first, a commercial from our sponsors. No, it's just us. Hey, look, I do suggest you subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Entre YouTube channel. It's all about entrepreneurship in action in all sorts of different ways. We have playlists from marketing to sales to managing channels to leadership, management, manufacturing, and the list goes on. Please join us, subscribe, and make your comments. Ask questions. I love to respond that way. And when we do our live broadcasts, we'll do it there as well. And we post all of our live broadcasts as well. So if you missed it, you still get a chance to see it. So let's get on into this subject of wisdom. Wisdom is really the sum total of how you cope with stuff. Coping is a big deal, and it takes wisdom, and it takes a lot of resources and know-how and experience in order to cope with the challenges that face you as an entrepreneur. So let's get through, I think I got about 9 of them here that I'll share with you. So the word plan, the word plan comes up in simply having a plan that supports your vision. It's an operating plan. But I'm talking about a little bit different twist on plan. It's the plan to deal with the risks and doing some scenario planning. If certain risks arise, what are you going to do to deal with them? So it's kind of contingency planning or risk planning. If you're raising money and you in your due diligence notebook, you'd note all your risks and how you're going to mitigate them. So investors ask you to think about this. What if something goes wrong? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to deal with it? So dealing with risks and a plan thereof, write it down. Talk to people about it. Talk to your top team. Let them know you have thought through alternate plans in case something doesn't work out as we had planned. This and this alone may be the biggest single source of anxiety of any entrepreneur. What if I can't pull this off? What am I going to do? So what are the 19 ways that this can go wrong, and have a plan for each? Well, maybe not 19, but the top ones, the ones that seem most possible that you're going to have to deal with. So have contingency plans for the things that are most likely to happen. Here's a good one. Empathy. I've talked about empathy in your relationship with others. Well, wait a minute. I'm talking about self-empathy here. Geez, understand yourself and where you're coming from. What are the challenges you have to overcome? What are your anxieties? Note them, feel them, describe them to yourself, share them with somebody else you trust, and let them give you a perspective. So look at yourself. Empathize with yourself. Isn't that strange? Well, that's what this article suggests, and it makes sense to me. Really know yourself. So, self-empathy. Think about that one. Of course, an obvious one is had flexibility to deal with the unforeseen. Unforeseen. Now, these are the big deals. I would say COVID-19 was an unforeseen disaster. I don't think that would have been in your contingency plans. No one thought that one through before it happened. So, kind of rely on lessons learned from other things that have happened. Think through what your flexibility is to adapt to something really, really bad happening to the business or your market or your product line or regulatory activities, all sorts of things that could happen that you don't foresee, but circumstances in the public sector and the private sector that are really, really major, like pandemics, you're going to have to deal with. I am truly amazed in all the companies I've worked with how resilient they have been, how flexible they have been in dealing with the pandemic and responding immediately, having no plans that they thought about previously. They came up with them within days and weeks and started executing them. So you got to have flexibility. Here's one you perhaps don't often think of. Fitness has a great deal to do with your dealing with the anxiety of running a business. Eat well. Have an exercise program. Have some sort of regular exercise. 3, 4, maybe 5 days a week. Spend time with your family. Carve that out. Don't lose your family for your business. That's not a great trade-off, gang. Some people I know meditate. It really helps them. I swear by it. I don't do that myself, but maybe I do and not know it. But all of these things will add up to maintaining your drive. You got to be fit in all ways. Slim down, be strong, be resilient, have stamina. Now, I have often talked about being an entrepreneur is like riding a roller coaster. It's ups and downs and ups and downs. And they're huge ups and downs. Sometimes they're upside downs. You've got to know you're on it and when you're up and when you're down. It will be obvious to you, but have the perspective that that's the way it is. That's the way a startup starts. It has a lot to do with the fits and spurts of finding early customers, early marketing and sales channels, trying out new partners in manufacturing and software and hardware development. All new things have little problems when you put them in place. And they often have successes as you want them to be. So that's the ups and the failures and the down. But the experience that you have, you accept the change and you accept the reality of these ups and downs. It's as simple as that. So you need to have the perspective that this is it. This is the way it is. I often tell people, well, I understand that you're down now. Last week you were up. Yeah, you're right. I was. And I proceed to explain this is the roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship. Stay on the ride. Pay another ticket. Go for another one. Keep going. Another thing to think about is the worst case scenarios things. So even when you take investment money, you are asked to, in your due diligence notebook, have contingency plans for the greatest risks that you have. So likewise, you have business continuity kind of thinking. And if the really worst happens, and the result is maybe an exit of your company in some form. I'm talking about the form of exit where you're selling it off for a penny a share, or you have to pivot in a major way, or you just simply have to pause the business. These are contingencies, kind of like what I talked about earlier, but these are the end of the game kind of contingency and how you're going to handle them. So if the worst does happen and you've got to go to your board of directors and say, look, here's the situation. It's time to exit the company and here's how we ought to do it. Or this is a pivot we need to take. We have no choice. Or we think we should just pause the company and come back in 2 years and hopefully our technology is still relevant. Worst case stuff. It's kind of depressing, isn't it? But it will settle your mind if you know what you're going to do in case the worst case happens. So you don't have to worry about it anymore. That's the way it's going to be too. In other videos in the last several weeks, I've talked about coaching and having a coach. Every entrepreneur, leader, in fact, every entrepreneur for that matter, should have a coach. Now, this isn't just anyone. This is someone who you trust implicitly, and they trust you. So it's mutual trust. Someone with whom you can be honest and straight, and your coach can be frank with you, be frank with each other. So there's no holes barred in this relationship. These are people that you've known for probably a long time, perhaps you've done business with, maybe they've been a coach of yours for a very long time as well. Whatever the case may be, these are people you could always talk to, and it doesn't go anywhere except the room in which it was discussed, or the Zoom call in which it was discussed. Have a coach. Being the head of a company is a lonely job because everybody that's in the company, including your co-founders and your executive team and all your customers and partners, although you got trusted relationships, they're not your coach because they have a vested interest in an outcome from any issue that you might bring up with them. So have a coach that's also impartial, trusted and impartial. The next logical thing is, of course, have some great advisors for when you need advice in marketing, sales, management, leadership. Draw upon the experience and relevant connections of people that you know well, who know a lot more than you in a lot of different areas. The sum total of all the advisors you have are people you go to for advice. But make sure that they really are the right people to give advice. They've got to be been there, done that kind of people. That's the kind of advisor you want. So have really great advisors. And the final one I kind of like is, by the way, from John O'Connor from here in Raleigh, who's one of the authors in this article I read in Forbes this morning. Thanks, John, if you're viewing. But John suggests you unplug now and then. Now, this could be just a long weekend, but it could be a day out of a month. It could be a lot of different things in terms of the time it takes, but it's not an hour or two. It's a day, 2 or 3, maybe longer, where you literally turn off. Get off your phone, your computer, put all your business books and papers away, turn off, take a time out, go to the corner and don't come out until 3 days from now. It's time to put things in perspective. It's time to spend some time with your family. Refresh yourself. Get some rest if that's what you need. Totally unplug. I think that's a cool one, John. Way to go. So that's it for the wisdom in entrepreneurship that you need and can get help from others. So have serenity to cope with all of the challenges that face you and the anxiety you got to deal with. Here are 9 coping mechanisms, and there are others. Use them. Deal with your anxiety. Have the serenity that you need in order to really be successful. And as you achieve serenity, have a great day doing it.